I'm sorry, we couldn't hear you.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Wonderful. We're all set for roll call, if you would, please.
Sure, no problem. Counselor Braverman,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Budraco,
Here.
Counselor Camillo,
Here.
Counselor Donahue,
Here.
Counselor Mankey,
Here.
Counselor Nagel,
Here.
Counselor Page,
Here.
Counselor Rada,
Here.
Mayor Del Buono.
Here. All right, folks, everyone is present. We will continue on. Next item is approval of the agenda. Would anyone like to make any changes? Mr. Chapman?
Yes, I would like to have 7A removed from the agenda for tonight.
All right, so would a counselor, I think technically a counselor has to make that motion.
I would move we remove item 7A from the agenda. Second.
Seconded by Counselor Rada. Any discussion on this? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Are there any other changes for the agenda? All right, seeing none, we will move on. We have our agenda for this evening. Can you make me a co-host, please, so I can see the participants? Oh, got it. Thank you. All right. All set with that? Approval, we're good?
You did the removal, but are you doing the full agenda?
You're right. Thank you for keeping me on track. All right, so we did amend it by taking off item 7A. I now need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I move approval of the agenda as amended.
Second. Motion made by Counselor Mankey, seconded by Counselor Donahue. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. You know, there's 2 empty chairs, but both counselors are participating online on Zoom. I don't know, they don't always show up at the same time, but just so everyone knows, we are all present. All right. Moving on now to public participation. Any member of the public may come forward. If you're in the room, you're welcome to come forward to the mic. We do ask that you state your name and address for the record. If you do look up on the monitors, you'll see that bar at the bottom. We do have a 3-minute time limit, so that bar will fill in to help you keep track of the time allotted and will turn red when you've exceeded the 3-minute time limit. If we have folks online that would like to participate, we do typically just try to switch in between to make it fair. So we will switch in between and we will begin public participation.
Hi, I'm Stuart Kelly, 641 Willard Avenue. I saw DOT made a presentation to this group on Tuesday, August 16th, about transportation plans for the area. On NCTV and Channel 16 Cox, I was looking for my office TV and the volume is muted, so people couldn't hear the conversation. And I know that it's online, so I'll look at that. Thank you. I'm inquiring if any emails or letters come to the councilors and mayor from the public about topics, and just even people's comments tonight, you know, are forwarded to those DOT officials, you know, so they know what people are thinking and saying. There's some feedback I got from people who do email. They say that nobody replies to my email, so they think that their voice is silenced or disregarded. You know, I personally got involved in town issues when the DOT proposed a roundabout on Fenn Road. That was in 2019 at Fenn Road in El Grasso. A group of some local people in Newington and I got together and educated motorists about handing out flyers about that roundabout and how to safely drive to decrease accidents in that area near CCSU. Many came to a planning and zoning meeting on Wednesday, November 23rd, 2019. We were honestly kind of bullied a bit and made to feel unwelcome. Luckily, Councilor Budraco was there and kind of spoke up, so we'd get a little respect. Thank you. I still remember that. But anyway, the NCTV episode never was aired or posted. Of all the episodes, that episode never made it to the light of day. So that was kind of silencing the public, right? And I didn't forget that. And you know, are the people being heard? That's sort of why we're here. The DOT, I learned through a Freedom of Information request, over 9 out of 10 people who called, wrote letters, emailed Mr. Vail at the DOT, who's in charge of that roundabout, strongly opposed the plan. The people spoke up and we succeeded. I'm concerned to learn that from a 2022 council minutes that our town engineer has been asked by the town manager to reinitiate this roundabout. I thought it died, but we're still talking about it. And it hasn't gone away after all that effort. So this crowd tonight this year is concerned about many things, and they'd like to know what's happening. Town engineer has been asked by the town manager to reinitiate this Alumni Road, Maple Hill Avenue alignment plan. That plan was strongly opposed by the neighborhood in 2016. And according to the minutes, Keith has said to the town engineer, hey, let's get that going again. Let's try to get an application for money. So I've spoken to all the landowners and small business people on Fenn Road and Cedar Street. There are about 12 of us, from the chairman of Cumberland Farms to Mr. Souza, who owns Souza Heating, where they want a train station. And all of us, we're successful at what we're doing. I'm trying to develop some land at 49 Fenn Road, and we're making things happen over there, but it seems like nobody even sees us as people. We're just in their way. So they have a different vision, DOT, and sometimes town officials have for Mr. Souza's land and business, my land perhaps, with a roundabout. And somehow maybe we're just invisible to you, and maybe we just don't exist, but we pay taxes and we're starting to get motivated. There are 13 no pedestrian crossing signs there that were put up by Ryan Dean in the police department. I told him, I've got this thing, I hope you'll look at it. Please help me get one of those signs down at, I think it's 093-252, and try to get that down.
If you could just work on wrapping up, please.
I'll wrap up. So, am I allowed to speak at the end of the meeting? Is that?
And then
okay,
there's
okay.
another opportunity.
So
Yes.
basically tonight, people are here to talk about this plan, Alumni Road and Maple Hill. They're the last to know, because by the time you guys get money, then the deal's done, and they can cry all they want. They can go on Facebook all they want. They can email you all you want. But I'm trying to get them here before that grant called CT PMP or something is sent to DOT, right? Your engineer's going to ask for money. Keith wants him to get money. By the time the deal is done, and it may even be in the works, these guys don't have a chance of fighting it. So we're trying to be people, not invisible. We're taxpayers. We love you as friends and neighbors, all of you. But we realize it's an amazing job that you guys got elected. But the people, have a say too, not just DOT. All right. Thank you, Sahar.
Thank you. All right, we do have one online caller with their hand up, so I'm going to go ahead and take that call, and then we'll go back to in the room. Ms. Lyons?
Hi, Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. First of all, I want to thank the Charter Revision Commission for all the work that they did in looking over the charter, looking at your recommendations, looking at some other recommendations from boards and commissions. They did a wonderful job, in my opinion. I just wish more people had showed up at the meetings and expressed their concerns rather waiting until this last minute and asking questions on Facebook. That being said, I would have liked to have seen the referendum question read something like, shall the town of Newington adopt the proposed charter that was approved at the town council meeting on August 23rd, 2022, and add, which includes the elimination of the residency requirement for the town manager. In speaking with the town clerk, I guess that is not an acceptable question, but since it isn't, I'm hoping that you talk tonight about accepting the charter as a whole or giving the voters a line-by-line choice of what they want to accept and what they want to reject, and that may not be possible. But whatever it ends up being, I am hoping that the wording is presented to the residents well in advance of the question being put on the ballot in November. I, for one, do not walk into a voting place looking for the questions that I have to vote on that night. I want to know what I'm voting on before I walk in and fill in the little circle there. So I'm hoping that it'll be available on NCTV and on the website, someplace where you don't have to go to 15 different areas to find it, make it right in the beginning, show what the changes are going to be. I looked tonight or this afternoon on the website, and it was pretty clear to me what the changes were, but I don't know that other people will take the time or the energy to go into that website and float around trying to find it. But once again, I want to thank the commission for what they did, and I appreciate all their efforts. And hearing what Dr. Kelly is saying to you tonight, I understand that his concerns, and I think maybe something like a town hall meeting might be in order to have the town engineer go over everything that's been proposed, everything that is in the pipeline to maybe go to the DOT and just get some feedback from the residents as to how they feel about what DOT sees as a vision for the Newington residents, what the elected officials feel is a vision for the town residents, and then actually hear what the town residents feel they want to be a vision for this town. Once again, thank you very much. I look forward to hearing what you have to say tonight, and I will probably be around for the last public participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lyons. All right. Anyone else in the room that would like to come up is welcome to.
I can't really make it says this map.
That's not one of our maps.
Okay, can you show us what you want to do that?
Have a seat, sir. Right now, we're in public participation, so we don't usually dialogue with folks that come up, but we don't have anything on our agenda this evening to discuss this item that I know many of you are being brought forward.
And it says.
That's not a town document, sir.
Okay, this is to do
This is a
somewhat.
private individual that put those out.
Yeah, tonight you'd like to talk about this area that you live in.
Yes,
This is something I created called Newington Hometown.
right, they're gonna put,
That's
they're
right.
gonna put
That's right.
houses over here?
Well, they're going to be putting in, they're trying to get money to
Oh,
realign.
Can you,
About it. You have questions, so ask them a question.
Yeah, the question is, this is designated wetlands, number one.
We
Over here.
we have no idea what you're showing us.
it's not our plan. The state has proposed some things through the mobility study, but the restructuring of the Maple Hill intersection is something that has been discussed for years. It
I've
has
heard
not
about it
come,
for years.
it has not come to this council. We've been elected since last November. It's never come before us. It's not been a topic of discussion yet. I can't say that it won't, but it has not come to us yet. So we don't have any knowledge of the plan that was shared in a flyer that was not created by the town. It was
Maybe-
created by a
maybe you
private
should- you should
individual.
Create one, a map of what you really want to do.
If we have a plan to do something, we will. We don't have a plan right now.
Just remember, back there is all wetlands. Okay, so if you build anything there, it's gonna sink eventually into the ground. And if you don't believe me, come down to 75 Ponderosa Lane. We'll go in my backyard and you'll see what it looks like back there. Okay? All right, and this, another thing I want to
We
say,
need his name.
Cedar Street between
Oh,
Maple
please.
Hill Avenue,
I'm sorry, public participation. We just ask if you would state your name and address for the record.
Barry, 75 Ponderosa Lane.
Thank you.
Okay. Another thing is you got a very dangerous situation between Maple Hill Avenue on Cedar Street and the Britain line. If you notice, New Britain has a sidewalk right up to their town line. Newington has that dirt pathway, but you really can't ride a bike on. I go bike riding. Okay, very dangerous over there, extremely dangerous to ride a bike over there, over that particular section. What you need to do, put a sidewalk in there. Get the people and the bikes off that portion of Cedar Street. Yeah, if you can have more meetings about this,
If something comes up on the
If something
agenda,
comes up as an official proposal, we will certainly have public meetings on it.
how
We do
how
not
are we
have-
supposed to find out?
We will notice it. We will put a public hearing out. We will use our
Okay,
website. like we-
okay, how am I gonna find out about it? Where do I go to find
Check
out
the
about this?
website, sir.
The website.
Right, check the town website regularly. Yes, sir.
That's all I have to say.
I will say
Have a good
typically,
day.
just for everybody's understanding, if there is a development or a project that affects a certain neighborhood, like for instance, we have a project on Robbins Avenue. There were meetings held and the residents in that area that were directly affected were notified by the town when that was happening and when the hearing would be. So
Meeting coming up Thursday, now, correct?
yes, and there's another meeting coming up Thursday for that, and those
Yeah.
folks were notified, but it's also been put out in our, on the website and as a meeting, public meeting for everyone to join. So if something were to happen on Maple Hill Avenue, if there was a restructuring that was truly being developed and considered by this council, which there is nothing at this point, The residents in that area would be notified, there would be public meetings, there would be dialogue to be had.
How would you be notified? Thank you, sir.
If it's a public hearing, it's notified in the newspaper. Right?
And on the website, and like I mentioned earlier, typically if it is something that will impact a neighborhood, like a Robbins Ave where we're restructuring that street, the residents in that area are sent something in the mail to let them know also if they're directly impacted. All right, so anyone else that would like, I do have one more online. Since we just had someone in person, I'll go to the online person. Jim P.
Yes, Jim Parati, 175 Hillcrest Avenue. I would like to comment on the motion to have the one question on the ballot for the charter revision. I just want to state that in order to avoid kind of the voter confusion and maybe be more transparent, we should have multiple questions. Specifically, the residency requirement for the town manager should be separated out. The voters should have a chance to make the final decision on that issue so it can be resolved once and for all. I would like to avoid, the confusion showing up to the polls, as Rose mentioned. Getting a flyer, I think, is not the right way to go about this. Thank you, and thanks to the Charter Revision Commission for all their hard work.
Thank you, Mr. Parati. All right, anyone else in the room that would like to come up?
Excuse me, I have a question. Is this about One Mile Road at Old Farm Drive?
No, it is not.
We're kind of breaching a little bit of our procedure, our rules of procedure. We don't usually dialogue with the audience. I'm trying to give you guys as much information as I can. We don't have anything on our agenda. Our agenda is over by the door. I'll read to you the items that we're discussing tonight. This evening, we have a proposed fee schedule for the fire department. We have an ordinance for the fire department apparatus replacement. We have a memorandum of understanding with our Board of Education, and we have the final charter language report. Those are the only things the council is discussing this evening.
No, they're going to send something to, I live on Old Farm Drive in Newington. They're going to send something to the house when they have something about trying to cut through Old Farm, One Mile Road.
There's no plan about anything on Alumni Road. It's a proposal.
Someone sent those flyers out, not from the town. Those are not flyers. The flyers that everyone is here holding in their hand that I see are not town sanctioned flyers. The information on those flyers was not dispensed by the town or approved by the town. I know that there is a person that feels very strongly about these proposals that have been on the books from years past. This council was elected last November and has not considered anything for realignment or the Rotary or Old Farms, Maple Hill. We have done none of that at this council table yet. I can't tell you that won't come back to us in the future. I don't know, but we have not discussed it, and there is no plan for any of that right now from this council.
And she's absolutely right.
I'm sorry, Dr. Kelly, I'm sorry. It's public participation, and if someone wants to come up and make a statement on a concern that you have or something you want us to consider, that's what public participation. This is not a public hearing where we go back and forth.
No, I just want to have you if I may. They're building new homes.
If you want, sir, come up to the microphone so everyone can hear you and state your name and address for the record. And then it'll be during public participation, it would be on the record. We'd appreciate that.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, thank you.
They're building condos now.
We need your name.
Name and address, sir, please. Right. Old Crest Pontiac
You
used to be.
need to state your name and address for the record, sir.
Can you state your name and address for the record? And we don't answer questions. So if there's a concern you have about something, you can state the concern. And then after everybody's done talking, if there are things that we know the answer to or can address, we will do that under remarks by counselors.
Logan, I live at 106 Old Farm Drive in Newington. Been there 59 years. And now they're putting up condos or low-income houses right down the street from us. I didn't see anything come, no flyers or anything come in the paper that they're putting them up. They just put them up like that. We have no say-so.
I can address your comments afterward in remarks by counselors. I can't have a dialogue with you right now. That's our rules.
I see. So you can't answer none of these questions.
We can address your comments, sir. When we're given the opportunity to have counselor and the mayor comments, we will address the views expressed by the public today. But we're not supposed to go back and forth, sir. That's just the procedure.
On one, I see. So all this is not going to be addressed tonight.
It's not on the agenda.
It's not on
sir.
our agenda.
You know when it is going to be addressed.
We have no formal plans.
Okay, well, I thank you so much for your help. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name's Steve Joyce. I live at 540 Maple Hill Avenue. Probably gonna be an unpopular person in this room, but I have spoken to my neighbors, and I know we're not talking about it today. I was misled a little bit, but we are in support of the train station. We think it's gonna raise our property value. We're in support of closing the end of the road off. I mean, in my mind, if you put that little hitch in the end of the road, it's gonna decrease traffic, specifically tractor trailer trucks and everything else that come down the road. So I just wanted to give my opinion here because I think I'm the only one. So have a good night.
Thank you.
Brian Taj Major, 373 Lloyd Street. Just to let you guys know, I'm totally against this 108 unit low income property that's taking place at 549 Cedar or across the street. This is not good for Newington. This is where we are becoming urbanized. This is I like the idea of Robbins Avenue. It's a 2-lane both ways. I understand it's going to be decreased to a 1-lane. You have easements on both sides that are about 45 feet. I mean, what are you doing? Going to put up carnivals over there? I mean, it's like they're anti-automobile. This is, I mean, that's probably all past history. I don't even live down that area. You said you had a meeting about it. I should have been there, but when I heard about this, but if it wasn't for Dr. Kelly, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't know about all this other stuff going on. So thank you, Dr. Kelly. This is what's happening to Newington is not good. That train station that you're proposing, I used to work there. 549, it used to be tech. Turbine engine component technologies. There was in the height of the Vietnam War, there was about 3,000 people working there, paying taxes, paying Social Security, lifting up our town. I mean, that was an asset. You put that in, that's not no asset. That's a liability. You're closing off these roads. It's total destruction to this town, and I don't like seeing it. All my neighbors are moving out. I don't like what's moving in. It's just like, I don't know how this is happening. I don't like what's happening in Newington. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to come forward is welcome.
I have a question.
Come on up, sir.
Or somebody can
Can we help?
microphone to him, sir.
Yeah.
We can bring the microphone to you, sir. That's not necessary. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Joyce.
Now, I expected
Could you state your
to-
name and address for the record?
My name is Henry Sardilli. I live at 85 Saddle Hill Road in Newington. I've been here since 1964. And I had quite a bit that I wanted to say, but I guess it's not the place to do it. But I do have a couple of burning questions as to the procedure. If the town manager allows a $1,900,000, what is it, a tax assessment? Do you guys have to approve this, or don't you have any control over this at all? Because once he gets the money, the bulldozers start building. And I don't know, do you know about it? We don't even know about it until we see the mound of sand on Cedar Street, which is 109 more units going in. So I don't know. I have other things to say about the alumni road thing, but that's not the place, I guess. I guess it's one of the things that frosts me is that I was instrumental in getting that red light on a corner of Old Farm Drive and Maple Hill, because there were a lot of nasty accidents. And in fact, there was a fatality. And a council approved the light. And so you guys do have some power to do things. And I guess we have to look for another outlet that talks about this. Is it tomorrow's meeting? Is that what we should be? I mean, I moved here. Newington had a country type road, and the politicians and developers over the years have turned that road into a freeway. They took, number one, they took part of my backyard. I live on Saddle Hill, which is, my backyard is on Cedar Street. We voted for the thing. They told us that it's going to be great for Newington. And what happened? It turns out all it was a fast way to get to 84 and people coming the other way to Route 9 on Fenn Road. And in the neighborhood, Old Farm Drive neighborhood, which is a horseshoe, there's 180 houses, and we have 2 outlets. If you take away an outlet, now they're saying we have to do something with, we may extend Saddle Hill Road and take a unit. For what? I mean, the whole theory, in my opinion, is to put more commercial business on Alumni Road. Well, if you look around and think a little bit, this is not a good economy to do this, number one. And number two, we got more vacant business places in Newington than we ever did. You go down Fenn Road and half the places on that little strip mall are empty. You look at Quinn City Drug, I don't know if that's Newington or New Britain, but they're half empty. And what are we doing? We're disrupting a whole area and then the one that frosts me the most is, how does these 108 units get, we never even heard about this. All of a sudden, they're breaking ground to do this. I think sooner or later, somebody's got to help us. We can't allow, I love Newington. I've been here since 1964. My kids were growing up here, and I love the town. There's enough, thank God, the politicians didn't screw up everything. But the school system, everything is great. But now they're just dumping on, they're throwing more cars. I don't know if you guys travel Cedar Street at all, but forget it. You're gonna, the 109 units are gonna add 109 cars at least. And now they take our light away. How are we gonna get onto Cedar Street? Well, one of the things, and I'm very suspicious, they said they might open up the bottom of Saddle Hill Road and take a house on the corner. Well, that's in front of my house. That means the traffic is gonna, not only in the back, my back house, it's gonna be in the front too. I just can't understand. And what I need and what I think why I'm here is I need some help. We need some help here. We can't let the zoning and do this, keep dumping things on an already congested area. And I don't know what we have to do. And I can't figure out how that, they already got something approved. They got bulldozers right on where the old car dealer was. that's all a big mound of dirt there. That's where they put in the housing. I don't know if that's a condos or if that's an apartment. But I want a little,
Sorry.
okay, I want a little bit more of the country road and we need some help and I don't know where else to go. You know, we can scream at the Ford and whatever else. We can get lawyers, we can get petitions, but I don't need that. You know, I'll be 90 years old in November and I'm not crusading anything. I'm talking for myself. But we gotta do something. We can't keep dumping because we were good. They even took some of my backyard away when they widened Cedar Street. Yeah, they took all my trees away. The nice trees had to go. That's okay. That was fine. I complained a little bit and they paid me $800. But it's just got to stop.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Saldilli. Thank you, Mr. Joyce, for helping out with that. All right, any other members of the public that would like to come up?
My name is Patrick Flaherty. I live at 414 Maple Hill Avenue. And between that and 418 Maple Hill Avenue, I've been here 88 years and counting. I think it's apparent that the concern of the folks here tonight is that these changes could go down without your approval. So if it's something that has to come to you eventually before it's approved, I think then it can be addressed by you and by a town meeting, and everybody would be concerned by that. As you may know, if you've seen the flyer that went out, the intimation is that this could all go down without any approval by you, and it's just between the town engineer and the Department of Transportation. Another question that should be answered and must be answered, as in any of these proposals, is cui bono? Who benefits by this? And whoever is administering this in the town offices knows, or they certainly should know, who that is. And while it may be in the name of corporations, they should know who the stockholders and who the principals and those corporations are. So if they can be assured that you're going to decide eventually yes or no on the project, I think that will calm down a lot of the excitement. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to come forward?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Bob Fritsch. I live on Old Farm Drive, number 158. And our neighborhood is absolutely top-notch. Good people. We work hard to make our properties nice. And it's a real tight-knit neighborhood, people helping people, and really true small-town America tradition. Beautiful place. We're very pleased. Moved here from Weathersfield, the competition town, and I got to tell you, I love it here. Two things that leap out, I'll be very quick. Two things that leap out at me as I look at this Maple Hill Alumni Road adjustment proposal. It'll certainly change the neighbor of our neighborhood. And whether or not the occupancy goes through with the commercial properties, we know in this COVID day and age, things have really changed, and it's really hard to estimate, you know, what the occupancy rate's going to be, how it's going to go, how it's going to flow, how quickly these buildings will fill up, and I don't think they're going to. I'm not very optimistic right now, but that's right now. So I don't know. Looking at this alumni thing, I'm really perplexed as to what's going to happen. It makes me very uncomfortable. And is it really necessary? The other thing in this COVID day and age, we all appreciate open spaces more. Open spaces are healthy. Yeah, okay, they don't help the grand list, but they're healthy, they're good for us. And I'm kind of hoping, as a fixed income person, I guess they call me elderly, although I don't really feel like it. I guess I'm kind of concerned about it not filling up with occupants, commercial occupancy. And I'm sure that'll be the case because we have Fenn Road right over just west of there. And we also have the whole Berlin Turnpike. And there's a big problem with commercial occupancy now anyway. And all you really have to do is look to Hartford and they'll tell you the problem that they're having, trying to fill these things with so many people are working at home. So I have some real problems about Alumni Road. And I'm kind of hoping it'll stay open. And, we have some breathing space. And my other concern is I'm driving up and down Cedar Street, going to Stop and Shop and over to Walgreens and different places. I've seen the traffic, and I've seen the traffic at peak commuter times, and it is brutal. And I just can't imagine what it's going to be like if even half of this goes through. It's really going to be something. It's going to be a real challenge. And I'm thinking that the traffic signal has probably worked some wonders, although I can't say because I wasn't here when it was put in, but it certainly looks like it works. And so well that we really don't need another traffic signal at Eastern Old Farm. So I guess right now, those are my concerns. I am absolutely not in favor of this. I'll just kind of sneak that in, but I understand the nature of the meeting and I don't want to exceed myself here. And I know I'm approaching 3 minutes, so I don't want to, jump on your time either. But I thank you very much. And everybody that I've spoken to in my neighborhood, it's a thumbs down for the realignment. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Board. Let me just double check her. I don't have anyone online right now. Anyone else that would like to come forward? Anyone else? Let's go. Okay, we're going to move on in our agenda. The next item is remarks by counselors. I would like to just, if the council will indulge me, I'd like to start, and then I know a few of you have your hands up and we all have an opportunity to speak, but I'm going to try to go through some of the issues that were mentioned this evening and kind of what our role is in them. First of all, if Dr. Calais has an extra flyer of the current iteration that's being handed out, I would love to see it because I don't know the information that you all have been presented with that brought you here tonight. So I would love to see one of those flyers. Secondly, in terms of the concerns that were mentioned regarding the realignment of Maple Hill, the town manager may or may not have had a conversation. He can speak for himself later on, but nothing has come forward as a plan to this council. We have, I know, on the books, at least probably 4 iterations of plans that were discussed at some point in the past over the many years and many iterations of it, but it had never come to fruition. And we have not discussed it at this table at all. It's not been brought to us. If it does get brought to us and there's any plan of moving something forward, there would be a neighborhood meeting. There would be notification by mail on our website. And, we would make every effort to get input from the folks, especially in that area, but all of our meetings are open to all public. So not just the residents in that area would be welcome to speak on it. Some of the development concerns, I know the development that was mentioned tonight on Cedar Street is, I believe, the Dakota project. That project started years ago, before I was mayor. It was brought to TPZ. And what I think people sometimes lose sight of, and I need to say this, if it's a privately owned parcel of property and it meets the qualifications through the town planning and zoning and the plan that's put forward for Newington that's in place, there's no room for this council to stop it. We don't have the right to do that or we will be sued. In fact, the Dakota plan, the project on Cedar Street did go to court because TPZ tried to stop it. It went to court several years ago now. It's got to be at least 3, 4, 5 years ago now. Right? It's got to be 4. Okay. So that project that you're just seeing them breaking ground on now started 4 or 5 years ago and went to court. The town tried to stop it because of safety concerns and issues, and anybody else is welcome to jump in. We were concerned about 1, traffic, 2, sidewalks. There's no sidewalks there to make it a good place for residential. So there were lots of concerns that were raised. There were many meetings held on that project. So I'm sorry if folks didn't realize it back then, and now all of a sudden there's this groundbreaking, everybody's like, oh my gosh. But there were many, many meetings that did happen before that project went through, and those meetings, we don't have the final say on zoning and whether someone can build something. That really truly is town planning and zoning. So if you have concerns or questions, I would urge you to watch on the website, if you have access, the town planning and zoning agendas as they come out, because that's where development goes. It doesn't come to this body. This body, in terms of a development project, the only thing that would come to us for consideration is a tax abatement. So if the development is already kind of approved and gone through, they can come to us for an abatement to make the project work if they want to, but that's the only time it comes to us. The actual project itself is approved through TPZ and we don't have a say in that. The train station. I'm gonna take a breath. This is one that gets me going sometimes. We have not taken a stance as a council that we want a train station. We have said that we are open to a discussion with the state if money is available, if they have a viable plan, if our neighborhoods are amenable to it. I have spoken on the record a number of times saying I don't think that Cedar Street is appropriate for a train station. I know several councilors have said the same thing. Some councilors feel differently. Some councilors feel it may be appropriate to have a train station there. So I would urge you to feel free, reach out to us. We can't have a dialogue back and forth, but you can call, you can email. All of our information's on the website if you want to have a dialogue. I will tell you where I stand on these issues. I don't think Cedar Street is necessarily the best place for a train station. If a train station were considered in Newington, my personal opinion is that the location over at Newington Junction would make a little bit more sense in that that was the original historic train station of Newington. There's less congestion, less traffic. People could actually get off the busway and be at the train station in a few steps. On Cedar Street, those two things would be across the street, down the block. Never the twain shall meet. It doesn't make sense to me personally. I'm one member of 9. What else? So I want to be clear. When someone mentioned the train station that we are proposing, that's just false. This council is not proposing a train station. The state is proposing train stations along the route in Connecticut. They have not come to us and said that they absolutely want one in Newington. They've asked if we're interested, and we have said we would have a discussion about it. That is the only thing. And after that conversation 3 months ago, we've heard absolutely nothing. So there is no specific plan for a train station. There is no specific plan for a Maple Hill realignment, although that has been discussed in the past and it may be discussed in the future. I can't guarantee that. I don't know the plan for that, but it hasn't come here yet. I would urge you, if you want to talk to us, email us, call us. Our information, each one of us, is on the website. Feel free to reach out because I'm happy to have a dialogue and talk about it. It's just that we can't do that in our public meetings. I would love, if anybody's willing to leave a flyer somewhere, I would love to see the information that's going out because I have not seen that flyer that's gone out because that was not a town flyer. I will open it up to council comment. Let me just see, you guys have your hands raised. Councilor Donahue.
First, I'd like to apologize. We got a new piece of equipment at NCTV 2 weeks ago, and it has not worked. That's why there was no audio on the thing. That's been fixed. The audio is working. So that was a technical issue on the audio side, but you can always go online and find the meetings on the town site. I find it interesting. I'm looking at this flyer here. You know, we have people up here saying, I don't want a rotary, I don't want a train station because it affects me. I see a flyer here that says, put sidewalks on both sides of Fenn Road and Cedar Street. Okay, well,
we can't.
It's either one or the other. either are gonna affect all neighborhoods. I also lost land during the Cedar Street realignment. I'm on the corner of Cedar and Maple, right? Sidewalk, but I'm gonna sell hot dogs out of my garage. That's how close they're gonna be, right? So you can't come here and say, I don't want this because it affects my neighborhood, but then put a flyer out that says, but I want to affect other people's neighborhoods. Somebody had mentioned that the 4 units on Fen Road were just built and they're vacant. Those are all leased. They haven't finished working on the buildings. All right, so there's not an occupancy problem there. Beth covered some of the things I was going to say. I'm just going through my list here. All the train station, the alumni. I've been in Newington for the better part of, I'm not even going to say it. I've lived on Fen Road. I've been going to the corner of Cedar and Maple Hill for 40 years, right? So it's like the busway. They're going to talk about it for 20 years. And then when they decide, it's going to be another 10 years before they build it. I'm not sure that anybody is going to care what John Donahue had to say 30 years from now, right? I don't even think I'll care what I said 30 years from now, if I even remember what I say 30 years from now. So thank you.
Okay. Counselor Rada?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming. I think I said this the last time several of you were here, that we may not always agree, but we do welcome everyone's voice. That is part of a necessary and very important process for us to hear what one, and actually listen and hear what each other is saying, even though, again, we may not agree, or we may. A couple of points, and I'm going to try not to reiterate what Councilor Donahue or Mayor Del Buono has said, but I travel Cedar Street several times a week for work, and I completely understand the issues and the problems and the speed with which some people do travel. It is an issue. It's a concern. It's a concern that I think every one of around this podium have spoken about and spoken to in the past, and will probably continue to do that. Biking, walkability, and safety for our town residents is extremely important to me. And I sit as one of our other counselors as a liaison to town planning and zoning, and also the Conservation Commission, both of which I want to let people know have, as we do, opportunities for public participation, both at the beginning and at the end of their meetings. So I encourage all of you, when and if you're able, you can Zoom in, you can call in, or you can come in person to the Town Planning and Zoning Commission meetings. Their schedule is on the town website, and the Conservation Commission, because some of the issues that we talk about and that are concerning to some of you may also be raised at the Conservation Commission as well. As Mayor Del Buono said, decisions are made and voted on at TPZ, and we are notified of them, but we don't have a voice and a vote in the development that takes place. That's why it's so important that people speak their voice. I'm always interested when proposals for development come forward that there are opportunities for public safety, that is foremost for not only the people who may be living and working in any new development, but also for the surrounding community. That there are places to bike, there are places to walk, there are open spaces that remain. I grew up in Newington. My parents bought their house in 1956. I moved away for a bit and then came back. So I've seen how our community has grown and changed over time. There are most things that I really appreciate, some things that I would have done differently. I don't know, but for the most part, we're growing, we're evolving, we're becoming much more diverse, And I celebrate and I applaud that. The fact that I think someone mentioned that the Cedar Street development is low-income housing. It is mixed-income housing, and correct me if I'm wrong, there is a state mandate for communities that they reach at a minimum of 10% low-income affordable housing. Newington is not at that point at the moment, and this is not a low-income development that's taking place there.
Yes,
It is.
I think that particular one is. That's affordable.
Affordable, but low, there's affordable and there's low income.
It's
and-
workforce housing.
Workforce
It's workforce housing. Low income.
I'm concerned at the language that was being used.
Okay.
Trying to see if there's anything else. The other concern I have is that there's possible misinformation or misinterpretation of information that I think would be rectified if people feel comfortable contacting us. As others have said, our contact information is right up on the website, and we will respond if people contact us. Other than that, I again thank you for taking the time. This is not an easy thing to do, especially coming forward and sitting in front of a microphone and expressing your views. And I appreciate all of you that have done that and all of you that have come and support. Thank you.
Anything else, Rad?
Yeah, first of all, thank you all for coming to us online and person here. Just one comment. We can't be expected to comment on a flyer we have no knowledge of. It's not our flyer. I have not seen the flyer, so I can't imagine what it says. But unless it's an official town document, we can't comment on it. A couple of points I'd make is that regarding the Dakota property, as Rena said, we did oppose it as a council, and we actually went to court and opposed it, and we lost. So we have no way of stopping the project now. We've done all, we've taken every remedy we could, and it didn't turn out the way we wanted it. So there's no way we can stop that project now, and it is private land. I also would point out too that Cedar Street is a state highway. So what happens on Cedar Street involves us as a town, but more so with the state, because it's a state highway. And so things the state could do to that highway or that road are in the purview of the state, not necessarily us. But ultimately, they would come back to this council for any proposal to change anything on Cedar Street, and we would work with cooperation with DOT to make that as easy as possible. Right now, there are no plans in front of any of us to make any changes to Cedar Street, to Old Farm Drive, to a 19th Street, or Maple Hill, or South. We have no plans in front of us to do that. So I can't imagine what those plans would be. If we come forth, we have no plans in front of us.
Thank you. Councilor Page?
I also thank all of you here in the room and online for coming in today and speaking. I encourage you to keep coming back here. And also, yes, to the town planning and zoning, where a lot of these decisions are made more directly. I've only been doing this since November, and I vowed to myself and anyone who would listen, which aren't many, that I would make any decision or vote about any matter in town based on my values. And one of my values is in addressing both in town here and regionally and on a global basis, the climate issue as it is affecting our weather and our economy and in the individual and collective lives of people near and far. One of the ways to do that, I believe, based on those values, is to have a smart investment in mass transit and encouraging and incentivizing utilization of mass transit. Yes, including fast track and trains and busways and other ways that we can reduce our carbon footprint and make a better world for not just us, because we're not going to be here as long as our kids or grandkids, and it doesn't look good for them, because as individuals we get in our car, me too, and we drive to work, and we just pollute the globe, and we're making matters worse each day. And it's evidenced in our storms that we're experiencing, costing billions of dollars and wiping out people in floods and wildfires around this country and around the globe. So while there are real valid concerns for everybody's neighborhood in Newington, there are real valid concerns for the survival of our species and of the planet. And those need to be reconciled by an ongoing conversation and a dialogue like this with all the stakeholders as it affects you and your individual home, which we want to hear about and we want to dialogue about. But also, as we discussed with the Hartford Mobility presentation here a couple weeks ago, last week or 2 weeks ago, we need to hear from all stakeholders, and there needs to be an ongoing conversation, not only with your representatives here at the town council, but with representatives from the state and other stakeholders, businesses and homeowners, to make sure that we're doing the right thing and we're reconciling everybody's interest to do what's right, not just now, but moving forward. One of the other values that I have, and Councilor Rada referenced it, and it's aligned with some of the environmental concerns that are having economic and personal impact on everyone, is making sure that our town has a quality of life that includes pedestrian and bike-friendly activities, and improving access to different parts of town with walkways and with looking at how we deal with cars and road traffic and safety. And Cedar Street is a nightmare. I drive it back and forth many times during the week, and it is an absolute nightmare. And I know at the last meeting I suggested it may be a crazy idea, and it isn't just mine, I've heard it from other folks, is can we look at ways to calm or slow down some of the traffic on Cedar Street and create more bikeways and wider sidewalks for folks so that they can get to and fro more safely. Certainly between Maple Hill and Fenn Road, that's a nightmare. I think everybody in the room agrees to that. I think we agree that that's a nightmare, and it can't stay the same. It's not going to get better magically. The last comment I would make is that I think that mass transit, buses and trains and so forth, which do a lot in the service of environmental improvement, are consistent with increased pedestrian and bicycle friendly town. And we can, and I think we should do both. I think it's a moral imperative, and the problem's not going to go away. So, and the gentleman who spoke earlier about economic impact of railways and busways, in fact, the data does support that your property values go up when you're near mass transit. If you look at here and in Europe and in Asia, that's a fact. I think that's it. There was one other comment I was going to make. Oh, just one other comment to Dr. Calay's point and others who have spoken about the Rotary. If you look at the science around Rotaries, they work. They work to improve traffic flow. They're safer overall, and that's why many communities here in the United States and in Europe around the country use them. Just look at the science and look at the data, and there's a way to do it that doesn't ignore the real concerns of property owners, of business owners, and of communities. We can do both if we have these conversations and speak to folks who do urban planning and do this and are experienced in it. So thank you, Mayor. I'm done.
Deputy Mayor Draco.
Yeah, a few comments. First of all, regarding the Dakota property on the old Crest Pontiac, as was alluded to before, there were a lot of public hearings. I mean, it went over several months about when it was proposed to the town planning and zoning. And the town planning and zoning, and also as a result of public participation in those meetings, recognized or felt that this was workforce housing, and workforce housing implied that residents would need access to transit-oriented development, which was the bus station, the bus routes, whatever. But there was no plans or no way to get people safely from the workforce housing Dakota to the bus station, to downtown Newington, if the presumption was that people wouldn't have access to transportation. So there was a significant safety concern in TPZ's eyes, as well as if the individuals did have cars, they increased traffic on Cedar Street. So as a result, the town of Newington, the TPZ, denied the application. However, the state of Connecticut has a law 830G, where if you are below the 10% of affordable housing, a developer can appeal a denial to the state level, and local zoning
can be overridden, based on different regulations, which is what happened. So that's what happened to the Dakota property, which is now being built. And hopefully somebody will recognize that sidewalks and there are significant safety concerns around that development that have to go along with building this. But what I urge you to do is, there are things where the town's hands are becoming tied. And I urge you all to pay attention to what's going on at the state level. I'm not going to get into a debate with anybody now whether zoning should remain at a local level or should be regional level or state level. But there are discussions at the state level where some regulations, some discussions may take more and more control away from the local towns in terms of zoning. So it's not just town decisions necessarily. Sometimes there are state decisions that override, but pay attention because it can significantly alter the way that decisions are made at a local community, number one. Now, my second comment is I really thank all of you for coming out tonight because despite the fact that, people are saying, well, it's not on our agenda. We don't have anything in front of us. There's nothing to discuss. These ideas are out there. There's maybe nothing in concrete. These ideas are out there. They're floating out there. We had the Greater Hartford Mobility Study come to us last week, and we were stunned. There's 100 proposals that the Department of Transportation has gathered and is trying to get all these proposals regarding transportation and mobility into one document, kind of based on public input, based on town input. They'll, evaluate feasibility, conflicts, whatever, and prioritize and then present it to the state level. Well, I'll tell you what was on those projects. The train station was mentioned. Alumni Road realignment was mentioned. Cedar Street was mentioned. Connecting Fen Road and Alumni was mentioned. So we have to make our voices heard. You have to make your voices heard. Even if there's nothing concrete out here, these ideas are being floated around. And I applaud you for coming out and continue to come out because people need to hear. And as Dr. Calais had said earlier, by the time it gets to us and is put in front of us, quite frankly, that's too late. So these ideas out there, they're being talked about, even though they've been talked about for years, the fact that they're still being talked about to me means they're not dead. So thank you for coming out.
Yeah, I just would point out, we did receive one letter. It's on our desks here, on the table here, and we also got it in email. So there is one letter involved charter revision.
Yeah, there's one letter from Amy Parati, 175 Hillcrest Avenue, regarding the charter revision ballot question. Thank you. I was propping it up so.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We
Thank
kind of jumped over it. I had it right here, one letter.
Thank you. Before we wrap up, I want to acknowledge what Deputy Mayor Bedrejko said. We did receive a presentation last week from the Greater Hartford Mobility Study. We were all stunned, I think, at what was being considered that had never been even mentioned to us. And the only reason they came forward to us was that Deputy Mayor Bedrejko, as liaison to TPZ, had heard about it through TPZ and said we should have them come to us. They never would have come to us. They never would have notified us. We weren't part of the plan yet, so to speak. They're collecting information. So I'm glad you mentioned that, Gail. If you are interested in looking at that report, I would urge you to go on their website. They are taking public feedback. They had, a button you can push on their website for public input on those issues that impact Newington. So if you have internet access, I would urge you to do that. If not, find a friend that does maybe and try to buddy up. But it is going to be important that if we want to stop some of the state initiatives that don't make sense in Newington, the state needs to be told that. So please reach out to them because by the time it comes to us, they've already whittled it down to what they're trying to push forward. The Rotary piece is they came to us, I don't know, again, that was a few years ago now, 3-4 years ago. It was before, I think it was before I was mayor. Rory was still here. Yeah. And they did a presentation But it wasn't asking for our approval. It wasn't asking for any town input. It was literally just, hey, guys, this is what we're thinking, and making a presentation to us to make us aware. They weren't looking for our approval because it's a state road. So even though they don't need our approval, we still need to voice our opinions. And so I apologize if I sounded defensive earlier. I just get upset when I feel like people are being either misinformed or people think that we've come to a conclusion that we haven't come to. And I do get frustrated by that. Quite frankly, that people think because my picture is on a flyer associated with topics, that I'm somehow in favor of those topics. And that's not the case. So I apologize if I sounded defensive earlier, because I'm realizing I did. But I am grateful for any public input. It's just a surprise sometimes when people come upset about issues that we aren't even aware we're out there. So again, I would thank you for coming tonight and making us aware. In the future, if there is anything you want us to know, feel free to come here, but also feel free to email or call us to make us aware as well. And sometimes that's a better way to dialogue than a public meeting, but we certainly need to hear your opinions. Thank you.
And definitely attend DPZ, because that's where it starts.
Yeah. Councilor Page, did you have something else?
Just one comment, Mayor. I just want to respond to Councilor Draco. I know you used the word shock. I just want to say, I don't know what was shocking about folks from the state who, I think, thanks to you, were invited to the meeting for a presentation, which I was pleased about. I don't think it's shocking that people from the state come to our town council for us and for anyone else to hear what they have to say, when people are looking to have a more holistic, comprehensive analysis of the way we move around Newington and Hartford County and the region. It isn't working. A lot of it isn't working. We all know if you're driving, whether it's 9184, going to work on Cedar Street or other areas, there's a lot that's broken that needs to be fixed. And I think it's the opposite of shocking. I think it's refreshing that we welcome people in to have a conversation and to look at the science and the data and to look at what might work better. We have a lot of problems in this region for transportation mobility. It hinders our economic growth. It hinders our quality of life, and that needs to be fixed. So I welcome it. I welcome all of you. We can agree to disagree on some things, but let's look at the data and the science and be working together to make this region and our town better. So thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Any other council comment? Okay, we will continue on then. We have before us this evening consideration of old business. We're looking at the proposed fee schedule for the fire department, some changes that were made. We've discussed this at 2 previous meetings. If folks want to leave, we can just pause for a moment just to let the room clear.
Hey, how are you? Thanks. I'm not.
Forget his shoes.
John. Shoeless Joe Jackson. All right, folks. All right, we're gonna get back to business. So the first item under old business this evening is the proposed fee schedule for the fire department. We do have a list of the fees in our packet, as was discussed at our previous 2 meetings. These are fees that we are looking to recoup from insurance companies that are involved at the scene when the fire department responds to these types of calls. We did want, I know we had kind of pushed pause last time to get an opinion from the town attorney on this. He did review it in terms of legality. He said it was perfectly legal to go ahead with it. It is discretionary. The conversation I had with him, discretionary in terms of the billing piece, if in terms of the fact that the council had some concerns about billing residents. And we know one of the policies you had brought forward had that discretionary line in it. We wanted him to weigh in on that.
Yeah, I believe he may have sent something over to James, but when I talked to Benny, he says it's totally discretionary for the town council. And I think it might also wrap into like what we're talking about with the alarm system thing. There's also discretionary in that. I think the town allows 3, but it's 3 or 4. That's also discretionary,
Like false
so.
alarms? False alarms are
Correct, correct. So, our point is, our position is in the fire department is, we're not trying to go after any of the homeowners or any of the residents or any of our commuting residents that come to town and try to hammer them with a fee. Our position is the insurance company will pay these. It's a growing trend. We want to be ahead of the trend instead of trying to catch up in a couple of years when everybody else is doing it, to help try to bring some revenues in. And it's not going to bring in a huge amount of money, and it's not going to solve our budget crisis. It's just going to help us at the end, that little extra that we may need for that extra little piece of equipment that's worn out or broken.
Counselor Menke?
Yeah, I just did a couple things. First, I was complimenting on your shirt color.
Thank you. Yes.
Very good, very good choice of shirts. The rest of you didn't get the memo, obviously, so.
I like his haircut too, so he's a win-win.
It's a win-win. So I just want to appreciate the fact that you guys went through the extra mile sort of to make sure this is all kosher with the town attorney. I think, again, I think this is a good way of recouping some costs that you guys expend on a regular basis, and I think it's a way to benefit the town treasury at the same time. I just would, when you do look for a collection agency to collect this, I would make sure you get someone who can do the work and has some track record. This seems like a kind of a new thing for the region, but I see that as time goes on, this will be much more commonplace than it is today.
Right. We're definitely going to vet our vendor. So there is a few of them out there. We're not just going to pick the first one that comes down the road. So we're definitely through the town manager's office with an RFP for a vendor.
So I would support this proposal.
Tim, just in your comment there, this is in most fire magazines now across the country. This is the big trend now.
I can see this would be a
They're
trend,
all starting. They say within the next 3 to 5 years, every department will be doing it. And it's just something that it's to offset the cost of operations.
I can see it's the wave of the future. I can see most departments, either volunteer or professional departments, would start charging for, some of these, a major extrication takes up a lot of man hours and a lot of supplies. I mean, you go through whatever it takes to make those jaws work, and those are supplies that get expended, and there should be a way to recoup those costs.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go back a few years when I came on 40-something years ago, but a Hearst tool was a couple of $1,000. And as you know, to the due diligence of our chief staff, we got a grant. And now 2 Hearst tools are $45,000. And it just goes to show you. And that's equipment that doesn't last forever, has a shelf life for approximately 10 years, chief.
10 to 15 years. Yeah.
And, you got to replace it. You got to have it. It's not something that you can say, well, we don't need that, because when you say that, then you're going to need it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Does someone want to read the motion in to the record?
I'll do it.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Menke.
If I can find it here. Resolved, the Newington Town Council hereby approves changes to various fees on the Town of Newington schedule for fees and charges in accordance with the Newington Town Code, Chapter 225 fees, as indicated on the attached document, Fire Department fees listing August 2022.
Second by Councilor Rada. Any further discussion on this? I just want to first, before we vote, thank you for the effort you put into this. I also appreciate your patience because we took a little longer to debate it a little bit. I did receive a question from someone about, why would we be billing for this, blah, blah, blah. And then someone else at the table said, it's no different than NEM's billing. They kind of equated it. It's 2 similar organizations doing the same kind of thing, which I thought was a good frame to put it in. So I appreciate you trying to think outside of the box and bring forward a proposal that is kind of cutting edge. It's just starting near us, but perhaps will be spreading throughout the country. And
Well, we'd like to, Chief Chapman is actually the one that spearheaded this, so he should really take credit for this. We did it as part of his direction to try to offset some of the costs of the fire department. So I just want to, thank Keith and the council for supporting this.
thank you. All right, councilors, we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, you're still here, though.
Don't go away.
Don't go away. Don't leave. Next item this evening is the ordinance adoption for the fire department apparatus replacement for engine number 2. We did hold a public hearing on this ordinance earlier this evening. Typically, we would go through and kind of summarize what we heard, if there was any public input. We did not receive any public input this evening on this item or at our previous meeting that we discussed it during when it was new business. So folks, you have in front of you the resolution. As I mentioned, actually it wasn't in public session earlier before the public hearing. The purpose of looking for this or adopting this ordinance is that this apparatus is on schedule right now to be replaced for the 23-24 fiscal year. What we are finding, the department brought forward to us the fact that production schedules are, instead of the average of a year, out to 2 to 3 years right now, 2.5, 3 years. So given some of the physical condition of the current truck that we have on the line, we are looking to earmark the funds. They won't be expended until next year, but by earmarking them now, essentially, we would be able to go ahead and order the apparatus and then pay for it out of the appropriate fiscal year when it is being produced already. Correct? Did I get that?
And it also locks that price in for the next.
Thank you. That was the big factor. You're right.
Our concern is the instability of the financial part of it. So this actually locks that in for us now going forward.
Right. You had mentioned it could be up to 30%.
15% come January 1st. So, and there is manufacturers right now, neighboring towns, they're saying have trucks ordered. And halfway through the build, they're going back to the town and said, oh, by the way, we need an extra 125,000 for your truck.
Right.
And if you don't want to give it, well, we have somebody else in line to take it. So.
And you've got the guarantee that the quote that we've got is sticking. Okay.
The Salem. It just happened out in Salem.
Yeah, I believe there was 2 or 3 in the state of Connecticut.
Yeah.
This one back.
Yeah, it's not a pretty picture, really.
Who would like to read this resolution in for me? Councilor Donahue?
Resolved that the Newington Town Council hereby approves the special appropriation ordinance number 2123-04, an ordinance adopting a special appropriation for the purchase of fire apparatus for the purchase of replacement of engine for the 2003 Pierce Dash pumper known as Engine 2.
Second. Seconded by Councilor Camillo. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great that we can all work together. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Bye, Jack.
I don't know what's going on there, but I don't want to know.
Next time we're gonna.
Yeah.
If somebody sent me the email, I would have.
I thought we did. Must have got lost.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Good night. All right, folks, next item this evening is the Financial Information Access Memorandum of Understanding between the Town and Board of Education. As you all know, we discussed this, we discussed it at our last meeting officially. This has been something that's been talked about for quite a while. In the past, there had been talk about trying to get the Board of Education and the Town Council on the same financial platform. The town was trying to get the Board of Ed to convert to Munis. That was not amenable at the time. So this is a means to at least try a method where we would be building some transparency between the two bodies. Access would be given to our financial director, to the Board of Education accounts, and the Board of Education would be giving, and vice versa. So both bodies would be able to view each other's platforms. If this memorandum of understanding passes through this body, it would then go to the Board of Education for approval. Once approved by both bodies, the town manager and superintendent would be looking to sign the agreement on our behalves. The memo that is in front of you has been worked on for a few months, so you'll see in items 1 and 3, there's a date of July 1st. I would recommend, or I would propose, changing the language. In number 1, I would end the statement where it says, documents for the town, period. Take out the no later than July 1st, 2022. In number 3, I would recommend ending it after town financial system with a period, taking out no, or a comma, no later than July 1st, 2022, or period. I was right the first time. Taking out no later than July 1st, 2022. And then in number 4, I would suggest that we amend number 4 to read, this agreement is in effect, or becomes effective. I had this on my desk at home and left it there. Becomes effective upon the signing of the town manager and superintendent of schools for the 2022-2023 fiscal year, and can be renewed annually upon, and it continues as such. So just inserting becomes effective upon the signing of the superintendent and town manager. This agreement, as you can see, is only effective for this fiscal year, so we're a little late getting started with it. We would have to revisit it next year in June, May or June, to determine if it is something we would want to continue. The rationale behind this also, just for the public who's watching, right now there are some inefficiencies in the way funds are managed. So the Board of Education has some accounts that they have to reconcile, but then it has to come down to the town side to be re-reconciled into our system. So it would help reduce those inefficiencies, as well as when the town or Board of Education, either body, needs a report or information from the other body regarding relevant funds, they would be able to get those reports easily by going in and having access, instead of having to wait for the other body to take action and run a report and do that. It kind of takes a step out. So it will hopefully open things up, be a little more transparent between the two bodies, and get rid of some inefficiencies right now. That's the hope.
Just one question, Mary, and your correction or your rewriting of item 4, the
Yep.
language of for the 22-23 fiscal year remains in effect. You just added that. piece
Correct.
about The signing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to, because if we're taking the July 1st date out, I just wanted to be clear that it's not effective until those two signatures are on.
Agreed. Thank you.
Okay. Any other council comment or question? I know we talked about it last time. Councilor Rada?
Yeah, one quick question. Do we need to vote on those proposed changes to the memorandum, or can we just state in the resolution, execute a memorandum of understanding as amended? As amended. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thought for sure there was a spelling error.
Due diligence.
You read it.
Yes, please, Councilor Mankey.
Resolved, the Newington Town Council hereby authorizes Keith Chapman, Town Manager, to execute a memorandum of understanding, MOU, as amended between the Town of Newington and the Board of Education to allow for financial transparency. This MOU shall be relative to the fiscal year 2022-2023, but may be extended by agreement of each party. A copy of the fully executed MOU shall be attached to this resolution.
Seconded by Councilor Nagel. One thing, I did reach out to the Board of Education Chairman this afternoon, just to let him know how we would be changing the dates, to make sure that he was on board with that, and he was fine with that. So I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. Any other council comment or questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Okay, we have 8 in favor and 1 opposed. Councilor Camillo is opposed. All right, moving on. Next item is Charter Commission, final charter language and report. Okay, counselors. So we have before us the final report from the Charter Revision Commission. As you know, the commission had met, we had given them, I believe it was 13 original charges. They had met over several meetings, had come back to us with a draft report. This council then went through it with a fine tooth comb again and came up with other things that we wanted them to consider. We had a public hearing as required by state statute, and we referred the recommended I guess other items that we wanted them to consider. We referred it back to the commission. The commission met again. They voted on the items that we had sent back to them, which are up on the screen. Everything that we sent back passed, except with the exception of the request for them to define shall and may. I tuned into the meeting late that evening. Actually, I was there for the voting at the end, but I didn't hear the discussion on this. James, can you just let the council know what the concern was with that?
Sure. The commission went back and forth on this. Originally, they had presented under their original draft report a basic definition, and I believe actually under that same report, and I have to look back just to verify, I believe they actually recommended not adding anything into that either. Just give me 1 second here. Lots and lots of changes. There we are. Under that initial recommendation, they chose not to make any recommendation to it, as well as in this second one. They felt that both of the terms were explanatory in themselves, and that a common reading of the language would understand the action to be taken.
Okay. All right, so in our packet this evening, we do have a resolution if we choose to, that basically, that we would accept the final report. And in doing so, we would be, next steps would be that this would be moving forward for referendum. Prior to that, there would be, so some folks have asked this question about hearing the information regarding changes ahead of time. We would be putting a publication out within 30 days. I'm reading it from the actual schedule, guys, so this is available for the public too. Within 30 days of the authority's approval or certification of the petition. So this evening, 30 days from today, within 30 days, the charter and amendments will be published in full at least once in a general newspaper that has circulation within the municipality. After approving the final petition, the appointing authority decides by majority vote whether to hold a vote on the charter amendments or revisions at either a regular election or a special majority vote, the majority vote of participants needed for approval, or at a special election, which is not the intent of this body. We're looking to do a referendum at the regular election. And then step 10 would be certification. So after not later than 30 days after, if it is approved by the electors, the municipal clerk would notify the Secretary of State in writing of the results. And if it is not approved, it stops there. By sending it to a referendum, the voters of the town can decide what I consider, it's called our charter, but I consider it like our constitution. It really is the governing document for our town. So that is the process before us. We do have that resolution here that would accept the final report. If someone would be willing to read that in, and then we can have discussion. Councilor Bridger, go ahead.
I just want to make a comment. I'm not going to oppose it, whatever, but I still, I was here and some of you were here, where I know the commission is saying it's a common sense definition of what may means and what shall means. But at the time, this was a real life example. The town manager, some counselors, and other members of the leadership in town, when it came up about the land use, the open space land acquisition fund, and I said shall is directive, and they said no, shall is permissive. It doesn't mean that it has to be done. It can be direct. So there was a real life example where shall was not interpreted as directive. It was more permissive. And that was my concern, bringing this forward. And if people, I mean, I hope it's in the minutes and whatever, that from now on shall be directive and not permissive. But it happened in this room with some of the same people in this room, with the town manager, which is not the current town manager. And that's where I state my concern, but hopefully we're past that now, so whatever. And I can read this, well, no, let somebody else read it.
She just saw how long the resolution was.
I know, I saw there's
I'll take
several
a
of them.
stab at it.
All right,
First one.
go ahead, Counselor Menke.
Now you know how the mayor feels, Councilman.
Whereas the town council has received a draft report from the Charter Revision Commission through the town clerk pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 7-191B. And whereas one public hearing of said draft report was held no later than 45 days after the submission of the draft report to the town clerk. And whereas the town council, upon review of the draft report, recommended review of 10 additional charges based on the draft report to the commission. And whereas the Charter Revision Commission reviewed the recommended changes to their August 18th, 2022 special meeting and recommended the acceptance of 9 out of the 10 changes. And whereas the commission has now supplied their final report to the proposed changes to the final draft and the final draft of the Newington Charter. And whereas the town council has complied with all conditions precedent to the review of the said draft reports and has supplied final reports pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 7-191. Now therefore be it resolved that said final report as supplied is hereby final, and the appointed authority shall act as said final report in accordance with Connecticut General Statutes 7-191.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second by Counselor Donahue. Any further discussion on this one? We still have 2 more motions related to this item, but this is not here. Any council comment or question?
Just to clarify, please, Mayor,
Mhm.
so that I'm clear on each of these resolutions, this is acknowledging the finality of the report.
Correct.
This is not to move it forward.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
I mean, the final report is the final report. I don't see what there's.
Okay. I don't see any hands up. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The next motion before us,
It's that word finale to final.
I would like to read the next one. I'll read it. Okay, go right ahead.
Whereas the town council has before it the final report of the Charter Revision Commission, and whereas said final report contains a proposed charter drafted pursuant to and in compliance with Chapter 99 of the Connecticut General Statutes, and whereas the town council has complied with all conditions precedent to approve said proposed charter pursuant to the Connecticut General Statutes, Section 7-191. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes, Section 7-191D, the proposed charter is hereby approved.
There a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Braverman. So counselors, the first motion was to accept the final report, and now this is to approve it. Any discussion on this one?
Yeah, just a question of language. The last sentence, the proposed charter is hereby approved. Shouldn't it be the proposed charter revision is hereby approved? Or am I misunderstanding it?
No, it is a proposed charter.
Because we're proposing.
It's simply a proposed charter.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Opposed? Okay, you know what? I'm gonna back up and do a roll call just so we have it for the record. It's hard with the online then. If I had known, I would have done that. I apologize.
Counselor Braverman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Budrako,
Yes.
Counselor Camillo,
Yes.
Counselor Donahue,
Yes.
Counselor Menke,
Yes.
Counselor Nagel,
Yes.
Counselor Page,
No.
Counselor Rada,
No.
Mayor Del Buono.
Yes.
7-2.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Sorry, I'm just noting it. All right. We have one more motion before us this evening. Who would like to go ahead and read that in? Counselor Donahue?
Whereas the proposed charter shall be submitted to the electors for approval or rejection at the state election to be held on November 8th, 2022. Whereas pursuant to general statute subsection 7-191F, the proposed charter shall be prepared for the ballot by the town council and may be submitted in the form of one question. Therefore be resolved that the form of one question on the ballot on November 8th, 2022 election shall be in the form following. Shall the town of Newington adopt a proposed charter that was approved by the town council on August 23, 2022?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Menke, and I'll open it up for discussion.
James, what does that mean, what this thing? What are we approving?
You've already accepted the charter itself from
Correct.
the commission. At that point, what that effectively does is that disbands the commission. And you are now placing the charter before the electors on the November election. You're setting the question that will be placed on the ballot and supplied to the Secretary of State's office
Okay.
so that the electors will have the opportunity to vote on either a yes or no question for it.
Yeah, there have been some questions brought to us on how this should be presented to the public in terms of one question versus multiple questions. And I'll just state kind of my viewpoint on this, and we've had this discussion amongst ourselves, but there are, if you saw the document that was up earlier, and I don't know if you can put it back up, but there were a number of changes proposed initially and then secondarily that the Charter Commission voted on. So in my estimation, I wouldn't guess as to what the questions are that are most pertinent to the most people. I know some people are concerned with residency. Some people are concerned with the monetary limits that were revised. And there may be people that have a concern for the Auditor Commission, for all I know. I don't know. So I think for us to list the questions and have, it would be like taking a pop quiz. There's like, I don't know, I think I counted 18 items.
It could effectively be about that.
So for me, we would either do it as one question or we would do it as 18 questions. And that's the way I think. So I'm inclined to go with the one question. People will be provided. We had talked about, and we'll talk about this as a council at further meetings on how to notify the public. But I know we had bounced around ideas such as a postcard that would give them the information link, how to get the information either in written format or online or however they needed it. So we're looking at ways to make sure that the public is notified of all of the recommended changes prior to election day. So even though the question is only one question and it's in totality, the public would have plenty of information ahead of time or ability to access it ahead of time and be notified of that through a mailing of some sort that we haven't actually created yet. But it will go out so that people have enough notice prior to the election to have done their research before walking into the voting booth. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that. So when people read the one question, that's, you know, that's my personal opinion on it. But I'll open it up for other counselors as well. Counselor Page?
Thanks, Mayor. You know, as recently as the last week or two, I've been of the same sentiment as you, Mayor, and others here at the council, which is, and I've had this conversation with several folks in town, which is to have 18 separate votes on the charter while you're standing in the booth there, the voting booth, would seem overwhelming potentially and be counterproductive. I've received correspondence, we received a letter that was mentioned tonight and other conversations with folks just in the last several days that, to be honest and fully transparent, I hadn't thought through as carefully that because of, for many people, the charged discussion around the residency issue for the town manager, combined with the rest of the good work that was done by this hardworking and long-working Charter Revision Commission, it seems like it may, a vote on the town manager's residency may obfuscate or interfere with the other important issues that were worked on for so many hours. So I'd be in favor of having them be two separate questions. Excuse me. So that's why I'm right now sitting here uncomfortable with this being one question, because I think we could potentially have this charter revision go down with a no vote, in part because of the town manager residency and the concern about home rule, and lose the opportunity to have some of the other good work that was done on our behalf, on the behalf of the residents.
All right, thank you. Any other council comment or question?
Yeah, question. I'm wondering is it possible to pull out one question or two questions out of these 18 or more that we have? I don't know if we've ever been faced with this in the past. This is something new and different. I do feel that going to the ballot booth or the voting booth and being faced not only with the election of, our legislators and our registrars of voters, and now having to read through 18 individual items that are revisions in our charter is overwhelming. And my feeling is that there may be folks who it will be too overwhelming and won't bother to read. But I am concerned that we give our residents ample time and ample information in as many media as possible, so that they can read this and digest it and discern for themselves whether or not they want this to be voted through. But again, my question, the initial question is, as we've seen in what Councilor Page just raised, and what some people have suggested, is to identify one or two specific items to bring to people's attention.
Right. Mr. Rupinsky?
Certainly. I will actually direct all of you to the handout that I gave you from CCM, page 15 of that. I also put it on the screen for the public. So section F, directly at the top of that page, specifically calls out the proposed charter, the charter amendments, or the home rule ordinance amendments. They should be prepared for the ballot by the appointing authority and may be submitted in the form of one or several questions. You need to determine, are you going to do multiple questions for the adoption, or you're going to do a single question for the charter? You can't do both, because you're effectively either adopting a full charter or you're adopting a question for each of the items within that charter.
So I'm not seeing that this clearly states you either have one question, or, for example, a town has 14 separate questions. It has to be all 14 of those separate items, not
those items
cherry picking this
Right,
one,
you
that
wouldn't
one.
cherry pick
It's
out
one
of them.
or the other.
And that's the reason it states out proposed charter, charter amendments, or home rule ordinance. So if you're going to approve your charter, or you're going to approve amendments to that charter, at this point, the question before you is approving your charter and placing that before the public.
Versus
placing
amendments
to that charter, correct.
And they would have to be every amendment.
Each one of the amendments and each section that we propose to change under the Charter Revision Commission and adopted by this council would need to be outlined. If we were to do that and hold off on this, we'd need to take action no later than September 8th to approve those questions. That could take a little bit of time. Wouldn't be something we would do tonight. So
We would or would not?
we would not. It would take a little while to put that specific language together.
More work for you to put together.
That's okay. That's okay. We want to make sure
No,
that it's
but
done correctly for the public.
Thank you very much, because this clarifies it for me. It's essentially all or nothing. And we need to make that choice.
Yep.
Councilor Mankey?
Yeah, I would recommend we move ahead with this tonight. I recommend we do one question. I think this process has been long. It's the Charter Commission did their due diligence. They had many public hearings, the two public hearings anyway, many meetings that were public meetings. Our own council had a public hearing, which two people spoke on. I don't think it's our responsibility to cherry pick this question or this question or this question to put separately. I think we either take it as a whole or reject it as a whole. And there are those vocal Facebook people that are opposed to the residence requirement that seem to be driving this conversation. But we've discussed it at this table. We've discussed it at the charter revision table, and I think this is what they come up with. It's up to us to send it to the voters and let them vote it all up, or they vote it all down. But it's up to the voters. I don't think it's our job to say, well, vote for the charter, but what about this question here or this question here? It's not my job to decide what's important. This document to single out. So I would say we put it as one question, and it's either voted up or voted down. But I think we should move on with this process.
And I feel that it is incumbent upon us as counselors and as staff in our community of the town that we make as much information as accessible as possible.
And I would, no, I think, yes, there's gotta be some information that goes out with that. I'm not saying we just, you read it when you get to the polls and you stand in line and go through the,
No, that's a
whatever
nightmare.
page. We have to provide that information to them. And I think that's the plan, to provide that information. I don't think
There are
anybody this
multiple ways to
council
do
ever
that.
said that we're gonna send this out and not give anybody information. None of us have said that.
No.
We all said right along that we would give the public, the voters, as much information as possible, whether they choose to read it or not. Because I've been in this town for a while now, and I remember a lot of charter revisions, and I have to admit there were times when I just voted yes or no based on what I felt like I had dead, because I didn't bother reading it. And there are some people out there that are going to vote on it who won't bother reading it, but those that want to read it and those that want to get the information should.
Our assumption my feeling is our assumption must be that people need this information, they want this information, and we provide it.
Correct.
in
I'm
as
not
many ways
saying
as
I'm not saying we don't give anybody information. We bend over backwards, give them information.
possible. I agree with that.
Okay, we have some counselors with their hands up. I just want to not
Sorry.
engage in too much dialogue and stick to the matter at hand. Counselor Donahue?
Tim covered it for me. Thank you, Tim.
Counselor Page?
Well, I appreciate the clarification as usual, James, helping us figure how this is supposed to go. And that is clear. Having said that, I'm right now in favor of moving this to the voters, even though I disagree with some of the content, which I've stated and we've stated as different caucuses and we've debated in previous meetings. I want to respect the hard work that's been done by the Charter Revision Commission. And even though, as we all have an opinion, I disagree with certain elements. I think that we should have the voters make their decision about the merits of this. And I feel, just last comment, torn. I agree with Councilor Mankey and others and the mayor about not having this be 18 different questions. It seems overwhelming. At the same time, part of me would like people to be able to do that if we could simplify. No disrespect to anyone, because I, like Councilor Mankey, have gone in and voted on stuff, and I haven't read it on previous charter revisions because I've been maybe overwhelmed or just too busy to do that. So if there was a way to do it that would be digestible for folks in their busy lives and allow folks to pick items, I think we'd have greater success. But at this point, if that's the decision, then I think we should give voters the chance to make their decision. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I do want to, as I'm sitting here digesting some of the information, I'm thinking about the process that took place. And it seems like a lot of people are bringing up the residency piece, and I want to make it clear that this council did not put forward that question to the Charter Revision Commission. In fact, the residency questions that were posed by some members of this council were for residency of the town planner and the town police chief. Those were the two that were brought forward from the council to the commission for consideration. The commission in their work and discussion, because I was at, I think, all but one meeting, discussed those two positions in the residency, and then they brought forward the residency of the town manager after reviewing other charters, reviewing our charter, reviewing the questions at hand. So they brought forward the recommendation for the town manager's residency piece out of their discussions based on what was posed to them. So I just feel like that's important for people to know. Any other discussion? Have we read this in yet? I've lost track.
Yes.
Okay, Tim and John, right?
Counselor Donahue and
Okay.
Counselor Menke.
Yeah.
All right, this one is in. We have had discussion. Any other discussion, folks? I keep forgetting to check my online folks. All right, hearing none, let's do a roll call vote on this, please.
Okay, Counselor Braverman,
Yes?
Yes to send it to the voters on the referendum,
yes.
no to no.
Yes.
So we're saying yes to sending it with the one question.
Correct.
okay, Deputy Mayor Budrako,
Yes.
Counselor Camillo,
Yes.
Counselor Donahue,
Yes.
Counselor Menke,
Yes.
Counselor Nagel,
Yes.
Counselor Page,
Yes.
Counselor Rada,
Yes.
Mayor Joby,
Yes.
9-0.
Thank you.
Before we move on, Mayor,
Yes.
I would just like to address part of your conversation you were having, which was the notification of the public, specifically mailers.
Yes.
So the mailer that you are effectively speaking out is explanatory text in that case. So directing things regarding an election is an explanatory text. So it is something we would need to discuss and vote on. It doesn't have to be done tonight. We do have time for it. We could do it on the 13th and put that together for you.
Okay.
But we would need to have that in place for issuing a ballots by October the 7th.
Okay.
So that is
So
something.
it's
we can
explanatory text because.
You're notifying public relative to a referendum question and information regarding it. We're not advocating for or against, but we are informing. So that is an explanatory text.
Okay, so
item.
it's just the informing piece that makes it explanatory. Got it. Because we had talked
We
we have
doing
talked
it.
about a
Yes.
couple of different options just to think about bringing forward. And one was like the idea of a postcard, so it would be less expensive, so to speak, to send to everyone, every household. And on there indicating how people can either look online or get a paper copy to make sure that they're able to access it in any media form that they need, as Councilor Rada had mentioned. So we are trying to do our due diligence to make sure that every voter would have the opportunity to access those recommended changes ahead of time.
And I will say, once all the information is put together in a nice clean format for the public, when we're getting ready to advertise, what we will do with that is I will work with the IT department for our website. We will actually place the item on our community headlines and lock that as the first item. So even when we get to the election will be listed second.
Okay,
So they'll be
perfect.
able to click on that, get to the information directly, the old minutes for the Charter Revision Commission, all of that information. So they'll have it all at their fingertips on our website, directly on the first page.
Excellent. Councilor Menke?
So James, you can have a draft explanatory text for us next meeting?
Really, the only thing you have to do is direct me to approve it. That's the only action that you
We want
need.
to see
What
it.
I have to do is I have to draft the language and have it adopted or approved by the town attorney. You're not adopting any explanatory text in general. If you remember when we did Anna Reynolds, that was simply direction for you to inform me that I should create explanatory text for that referendum.
Okay.
Counselor, oh, you're done. Counselor Bedrejko.
I mean, I'm done.
Your hand is still up. I apologize.
I'm done.
I'm done. I can leave.
Keep track.
James, would there be any way that this explanatory information can be made audio in terms of either running it on, I mean, with no, yes, no, or whatever, but just for those who may be visually challenged or whatever, to put it on the town website?
We could find a way to
or,
turn into it a video format that could run on NCTV and on our website.
That's good.
Definitely.
Excellent.
Anything else, counselors?
I just want to again thank the Charter Revision Commission for their hard work and everyone here who has worked so hard to do this process. It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I was remiss the other evening. I was online for the charter revision, at least the end of the meeting. And I thanked the commission. I don't know if I thanked you as much because as the staff member appointed, you've done a ton of work for the commission, for us. Very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
The NCTV show, charter show.
Better.
Charter show.
Trevor show. I like it.
Are you hosting?
I'll host.
You could serve chowder.
I love it.
Sorry.
All right, the next item, we have no resignations and appointments this evening, correct?
Correct.
We took that one off,
Oh,
all right. Next item is refunds for August 23rd, overpayment of taxes. Deputy Mayor Bedrejko?
Resolved that property tax refunds in the amount of $2,041.99 are hereby approved in the individual amounts and for those named on the requests for refund of an overpayment of taxes certified by the revenue collector, a list of which is attached to this resolution.
Seconded by Counselor Nagel. Or Counselor Camillo, I apologize.
Sounds like Nagel.
Nagel.
It was me.
Okay, great, thank you. If I don't look up fast enough, the little yellow block is gone. All right, thank you. Any discussion on these? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item this evening is written and oral communications from the town manager, Mr. Chapman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to report that the high school roof project is now just about wrapped up completely on time, under budget, and well done by our facilities manager and his staff working with the contractors. So that's put to bed now. We will be meeting with the council in the next month or two concerning the public safety radio system. This has been a long, drawn-out affair, but we're at the half-yard line, and we're almost there. We just are working out a few last-minute bugs, so that should be presented to you within the next month or two. Hopefully, by the end of this year, it will be started to be replaced. It's going to take a while to have everything replaced once the approvals are given. But this is a major undertaking that was Paul Boutot, and once he retired, we were fortunate to have a consultant on board at that point, and the consultant's taken it forward. And we're going to be meeting with the 3 public safety entities and finalizing the, we'll say, laundry list of equipment that we will be purchasing. You will be hearing more about this in the next month or so. We're in the process of hiring an assistant town manager. We'll keep you posted on that. It's moving along fine. And then finally, we're anticipating doing a citizen survey that would be completed before the end of 2022. You will have an opportunity certainly for input on what questions you would like to see on the survey. All the department heads have been asked to do the same. A list of what questions they would like to see that will help them manage their operations better. We haven't done a citizen survey for about 25 years now. And it's time. I think what you heard tonight in public participation is just an example where we need to get input from our residents on an organized basis. And the citizen survey is one way to do that. So we'll give you more information. We'll have the consultants coming in next month to brief you on exactly what they're intending to do and to have you understand what your role is going to be in the citizen survey function. So we've got a lot of stuff still going on, but it's all pretty positive stuff. So, and then we certainly have the big development on the Turnpike 3333 Berlin Turnpike is underway. They're breaking ground, and they pulled some of the permits that are required from the town. We also anticipate that the Pike will be submitting their permit applications very shortly to the building department, as well as you mentioned earlier, the Dakota property is well underway now. So things are moving along.
So we're very proud of what's been accomplished, and I know there's a lot of, we'll say, disgruntled people about development, but that's what I was hired to do when I was brought in, is to spur development and keep the taxes that frozen or lowered, and we've lowered it for the last 3 years. So I have a great team, and we're doing exactly what this council or the previous council sought. So things are going well, and that's it.
Thank you. Councilor Donahue?
Yeah, Keith, do you have any update on Anna Reynolds? I mean, I drove by there the other day, and the main driveway still looked like a DMZ. I mean, school starts.
I was told as of today that the school will be ready to be open on schedule.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of changes that are going to have to be implemented to have this successful. But from what I'm told right now, the project is on schedule, and the students will be back in school on school opening day.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Councilor Page?
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to thank the town manager, Mr. Chapman, and everyone else who was involved in the effort to upgrade our public safety equipment. I don't know much about that equipment except the little I've heard from folks that over the years, more recent years, obviously the town manager knows all about this. It's had some gaps and some challenges in communication for our first responders. So I appreciate all that effort. It sounds like it's going to meet our needs and then some. The other comment I would just make is that I agree that we need a citizen survey. I like that idea. I would also ask, and maybe this is part of the plan, I'm just making my statement about aligning whatever survey results we get from folks, whether it's capital improvement projects or any other investments in town, with the Owens report and other data that apparently gives us information about the condition of various infrastructure and facilities, so that data of the survey and the objective, I assume the objective data about the condition of each of our properties is juxtaposed, and we can make informed decisions. The other couple of comments to circle back a little bit on Councilor Rada's comments at the beginning of the meeting around affordable housing. I meant to say, but there was a lot going on. One of my other values, and I think it's everybody's here at the table, is that, and one of the things that makes Newington attractive is that this, generally speaking, is an affordable town to live in. It's why my wife Lynn and I moved here to raise our family when we could afford a ranch house, and we still can afford our ranch house. And I'm proud of the fact that many councilors and mayors, some sitting here and before us, and the people on TPZ and others, have worked hard to make this an affordable town. I think that's a good thing. And I think if more towns did the hard work that Newington did to make our housing affordable for everybody, if everybody did that in Connecticut, and there's some towns that have dug in their heels and fight and push against that for a lot of reasons, which I think are quite distasteful, I think this would be an even better state of Connecticut to live in. And one last comment, I promise. There was a recent article about the mayor of New Britain and her good work in obtaining complete street grant monies 3-4 years ago, several $1 million, and the good work that she's done around their bus way in the center of town. There's so much good development happening there, sidewalks and pedestrian friendly and bike friendly. And that money was available when the mayor and other councilors here voted in favor of TOD on Cedar Street in 2019 for the train station. And I don't know why, because I wasn't on the council, so there may be very good reasons for it. So I'm not casting aspersions. I'm just saying that was money available. The mayor of New Britain took advantage of that money, and has since, we see the results. It's great work. I'd like us to not miss that opportunity now. As many folks who presented earlier about, and I know the town manager referenced the goat path that's so dangerous on Cedar between Maple Hill and Fenn. I don't know how this happens, because I don't know how the sausage is made, but I'd like to continue to look at complete street grants and other monies to make Cedar Street safer between Maple Hill and Fenn Road for everybody, including the folks who are moving in at that new development at the Dakota property. Thank you very much.
Councilor Page, I appreciate your comments. The complete streets grants are always a priority for Newington. In fact, the Robbins Avenue project is going to be funded through that program as well.
Yep.
And I know we have another project coming forward over by I don't want to list the business name. It's the corner of Hartford
Hartford
Ave
Yeah, the new
and
gas
and
station,
Main
Yanni's.
Street.
Yeah.
And I believe that's funded through the same. So the town is always seeking those grant opportunities. We are looking at increasing the bike paths like the Robbins Ave project does, at least give us a start on that. So that certainly is something that we are looking forward to continuing and looking for those grant funding opportunities for improvements. All right, let's see. Council Liaison Committee reports.
Only been a week, so it's
And
not
the
been.
crowd
Yeah.
went
It hasn't been that
by. All
many
right.
meetings.
I want to follow up a question that Councilor Donahue had and the mention of the Anna Reynolds project by our town manager. And Councilor Camilla, you can jump in because he and I are both on the Anna Reynolds committee. And we had our meeting last Thursday and we're on budget and we're moving along in terms of the time frame. And yes, school will be ready for students and faculty to come. As a matter of fact, they were talking about teachers already in the building, rooms that had been used for supplies and equipment and kind of staging area or whatnot. Everything had been moved aside and teachers were beginning to come back in and set up their classrooms. Great.
I just drove by the main driveway and I'm like going, man, they better get moving.
I know, I drove by Reservoir Road today and I said, I gotta get up there and kind of tootle around and see what's happening, but it is on budget, it is on track.
Okay, great. All right, any other council liaison committee reports? Hearing none, we'll move on to public participation. Any member of the public can come forward. Anyone online? Let me just click over to that window. All right, Ms. Lyons, go right ahead.
Hi, Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. As I'm sitting here listening to the meeting, a lot of things are going through my mind. And first of all, I am remembering how I got involved with local government, and it goes back to 2009 when shortly before that or in that year, former Mayor Mortensen gave the residents of Newington an F for their participation in the budget process. And shortly after that, the Wright administration proposed charter revision, and some people in town were not pleased with what was going forward, and they formed a political action committee to fight the charter revision. Not that I plan on fighting the revision, but I'm very disappointed that people did not show up at the meetings to voice their concerns, and I'm very disappointed that they didn't show up at the public hearings to voice their concerns. I'm concerned that residents are going to go into to vote and not know what they're voting for. People I hear now complaining about the MDC rates were in fact probably the people that voted yes to the bonding years ago, not realizing that the cost was going to be in their pocket for that bonding. That being said, I hope that the word gets out to everyone as to what they're voting on and that they pay attention. A lot of things that I learned about were through flyers such as the ones that you were seeing tonight or have been passed out. I must say that some of the information could be better presented, no disrespect, but it does add to the confusion when the real facts aren't there. I signed up on the town website to get notice of all the meetings that are held, TPZ, conservation, whatever, because I'm retired, I have the time to do it. I learned that you can't speak to anything on the TPZ or conservation agenda unless there's a public hearing. However, the town council will listen to our concerns. I learned that DOT puts out public notices about their projects, and sometimes they'll listen, sometimes they won't. The biggest thing I've learned is to pay attention also to the state laws that are being proposed as they could affect our town, for example, local zoning. I've learned just because something is not on the town council agenda, it doesn't mean that it's not on someone's agenda. Keep your eyes and ears open. Look for the public hearing notices posted on properties while applications are pending before the TPZ. I would like to ask, and I've asked this before, and this has nothing to do with the town attorney's opinion that was given tonight, but it just brought back to my memory that I've asked that when the town attorney's opinion is asked, could we perhaps see in writing what the question was and see in writing what the answer was? Sometimes things lose the meanings and interpretations. Finally, again, I'd like to know who at DOT spoke, who the stakeholders were, the residents and the town officials were that DOT spoke to about this mobility study. I don't think I was so shocked at what the results of the study were. I was shocked to hear that people didn't know about it. And if they hadn't been invited, they wouldn't have showed up, in my opinion. Thank you once again, and have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Lyons. All right, I don't see any other members of the public with their hands up. Anyone in the room? Okay. Next item this evening is remarks by counselors. Window, anyone? All right, hearing none, we will move on to informational items this evening in our packet. There are 3 informational items, and folks, this would be in our packet on the website if you're interested in getting information. The first item is the 150th anniversary celebration dinner. The town's 150th anniversary passed during COVID. The committee that was formed is still hoping to hold a celebration dinner and has planned one for September 22nd, 2022 at 6 p.m. Tickets are available, but they are limited in the number that they are selling. So if you are interested, there is a QR code on the flyer that's online, or I'm sure if you go on our town website, there's access to that as well. At least
Not yet,
on our
but there will
agenda.
be on the main page.
Okay. All right, so that is out there. And I know I've seen it on Facebook as well. So if you are on Facebook, you can access that way as well.
I want to correct the statement I made at the last meeting on that. Actually, each of the mayors that does go to the ball will be receiving a ticket. Where originally I had said it was just the current mayor.
Oh, okay.
So I had spoken with the chairman, and she had indicated that each mayor that was in attendance would be receiving a ticket at the door.
Oh, that's very kind. I wish the whole council was, but that's another story. We'll talk to them later. All right, next, the next item for information is the Fit Lot Outdoor Fitness Park Celebration on Saturday, September 10th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can join AARP Connecticut and the town of Newington Parks and Recreation Department at the Fit Lot, an AARP sponsored outdoor fitness park that's at Clem-Lemire Park. And we'll be celebrating, AARP teamed up with Fit Lot to celebrate its 60th anniversary by sponsoring the donation and activation of 1 outdoor fitness park in all 50 states and 3 U.S. territories. And we want to introduce you to it here in Newington. So you can see there's a registration. There is a QR code on this. Boxed lunches will be available at 11 a.m. for those who sign up and check in. First come, first serve. There will be a live DJ and a certified trainer there to showcase the equipment as well. Also in our packet this evening is a notification for the Newington Water Lantern Festival on Saturday, September 10th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. This is a private company that does come in and run this event. It's a floating lantern event that is all about connections. Magical nights in cities across the U.S. include food, games, activities, vendors, music, and the beauty of thousands of lanterns. And if you're interested in that, the information is available at www.waterlanternfestival.com. Tickets are selling fast. All right. Those are our 3 informational items this evening. Any discussion or questions, counselors? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Counselor Mackey, seconded by Counselor Rabbit. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We stand adjourned at 9:15 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Oh, great, we appreciate it.
Chairs aren't that
I have to give you kudos.